from what we have been hearing over the past few days, that the U.S. has been focusing on solely Iran's capitulation. And we know that Iranians have not been open to give up so much of their nuclear program, in particular, going to 0% enrichment. Um, the perception is that there's not much time for Iranians to decide, and there's not much time for President Trump to whether launch a military attack or accept Iranians' deal.
US and Iranian officials met in Geneva for a third round of talks regarding the curbing of Iran's nuclear program. They'll reconvene in Vienna next week. After further consultation. Iran's top diplomat said good progress had been made, but added that some differences remain. The high-stakes negotiations come amid the largest US military build-up in the Middle East in over 20 years, with Donald Trump threatening to strike Iran if a deal is not reached. Well, joining me now is Omid Memarion, who is the Director of Communications and Senior Iran Analyst at Dawn. Good evening to you, Omid. What do we understand was achieved today? Abbas Araghchi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Iran, said the sides were close to reaching an understanding in some areas. Do we know what?
We don't have much details from these negotiations. From what we have been hearing over the past few days, that the U.S. has been focusing on solely Iran's capitulation. And we know that Iranians have not been open to give up so much of their nuclear program, in particular, going to 0% enrichment. The perception is that there's not much time for Iranians to decide, and there's not much time for President Trump to whether launch a military attack or accept Iranians' deal. If you remember, last year, it was between one of these rounds of negotiations, after 4 or 5 rounds of negotiations, when Iranians expected to meet Americans in Amman. A few days after, Israel attacked Iran. So the attack, the 12-day war, happened at the midst of these negotiations. So now we have a situation, again, that Iran's foreign minister said that there would be another round of negotiations next week, and they have got to a better point than last times, and the negotiations have been very constructive. But, we have to hear from the American side and see what Witkoff and Kushner have communicated with President Trump, and whether that's enough for them, because President Trump wants a very clear win when it comes to Iran's negotiating with Iranians, and we don't know whether they have got this from them, or they might see a path to get there, or enough is enough for them.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Oman saying significant progress in the talks, but brevity. I mean, let's talk about the speed of this. You say that Iran is in a better position if there were to be a US attack. Is there an understanding on any timeline? It feels like the US are sort of ready to push the button, if you will, but Iran seem to be encouraging round after round of talks, and so the question is really whether they are stalling on purpose.
Iranians have been focusing on micro compromises. They need to go towards a macro compromise. Iranians are not in a better position, but they are very much between a rock and a hard place. What do I mean by that? The fact that if they capitulate and give up their nuclear program as a whole, then it would be very costly for them at home, because right now, as we have been reporting on this, Iranians are facing a very severe and deep legitimacy crisis inside the country after the January massacre. What it means for the regime, it means that the regime, to keep its loyalists, its supporters, its base of support intact and consolidated, they can't give up one of their major achievements or major policies or major part of their foreign policy agenda, which is the nuclear program, and it's the core of the resistance discourse or plan. So if they give it up, it creates cracks within the base of their base of support, and at the time of having a huge legitimacy crisis before the rest of the people, vast majority of the people, it's going to be a matter of life and death for the Iranian regime. So that's why they are very sensitive about the inches that they're given, and they are not very ready to basically for macro compromise.
We must also talk about the sort of spike, the recent spike in anti-government protests that's emerged out of several Iranian universities that began at the weekend and has continued into this week. It's, of course, nothing like the scale of what we saw a good few weeks ago. But could this be, or how relevant is it? Do students, do you think, sense that the regime is weak under the pressure of the threat from the US?
I think this is a major development. It's very courageous to come to appear on campuses and protest against the regime and say and chant down to the dictator. And why is that? Because we had a massacre in Iran in January, and within 2 days, the government killed thousands of people.
7,000 people killed in total.
Exactly. And for that, the idea behind any severe crackdown is to silence the streets for a long period of time. And the fact that 1 month after, students go on campuses and chant down to the dictator and ask for the regime change or change in the government, it shows that it's not about the policy disputes. It's not about the economy. The grievances have become more intensified. They have become deepened. And also the crackdown that was supposed to push people back to their homes and to the classes for the students, it has intensified the situation, and it has boosted their moral outrage.
Okay, well, look, thank you for bringing us as up to date as you can do with the talks going on between US and Iranian officials. There is another round of talks, a fourth round of talks scheduled for Vienna next week. Omid Memarion is Director of Communications at Dawn. It is a US foreign policy think tank based in it's a think tank based in Washington, D.C., focused on US foreign policy in the Middle East. He's also the organisation's senior Iran analyst. Thanks for being with us. Cheers.